I'm so excited to be here and thank you all for having me. I am, like you said, a doctor of naturopathy. Everybody pronounces it different. I feel like the East Coast people pronounce it a little different than we do here. But I'm also an herbalist and all sorts of things. So what I've done is just studied health and wellness and infrared therapy. Red light therapy is one of my modalities. And a friend of mine said, "Hey, we have these patches." And I didn't know, I was like, that sounds ridiculous. Like, you don't have to plug it in. And I basically said, just fine, send me some, because I trusted her, right? I said, I'll buy I'll buy a sleeve. So I bought the sleeve, got it here, wore it for half a day on Friday, Saturday all day. By Sunday, I had zero inflammation. It was the craziest thing ever because I've been that person that wakes up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom hunched over like a 90-year-old because my body is like atrophied in the sleeping position on the side. And I just was so overwhelmed by it. So I started telling people and just decided, I'm going to keep moving forward, keep learning about it. And as an educator, I need to know all the things. So I'm kind of one of the weird people that has read all the studies and has been able to pull all the information out for you guys so that you're not getting incorrect information, but you're getting correct information.
I have not been doing this a long time, and I'm so glad that Dr. Jen was on tonight to give us more of her experience too. I started by just really looking into this for a family member. My sister-in-law asked me to look at this back in July. So my initial goal was to just see, what is this? Is it real or not? You know, a lot of the same initial thoughts that Dr. Jen expressed of that sounds crazy. I have been a fan of stem cell therapy, adult stem cell therapy, since its inception, or since I first heard about it, which was 20 plus years ago. I've been practicing medicine for around 30 years now, and we have hundreds, thousands of cures and therapeutic benefits with adult stem cells, and so anyway, I've been a fan of that for a long time. So I first started looking at this patch and was curious as to how it worked. I looked at the science behind it, looked at some of the PubMed articles, and looked into the GHKCU peptide.
I'm excited to be here. And I will start off by saying, yes, I am a Canadian, practiced anesthesia for close to 20 years, just under 20 years. And I left in 2021, actually, because of my beliefs around medical freedom and personal choices. I started doing a lot of research, a lot of reading about alternative therapies. I had been doing that some years before when my mom was diagnosed with cancer. So I was doing a lot of studies, getting a lot of certifications. And one of the things that I came across was how light impacts our body and is the real driver of our health. And that was something that basically crumbled the entire foundation of what I understood medicine to be. And it really rocked my world. And it was a bit disconcerting for a little bit because it just was not anything that I was taught in the traditional medical education system. But it became very exciting very quickly because there was so much more that could be done. And I understood so much more. And myself personally, I've always been an advocate for preventative health, at least for myself. And I think that was also because of everything that I had seen in the 30 years in medicine.
Well, this is actually taking the ingredients in your body and mobilizing it into this beautiful copper peptide that is actually what's creating younger, healthier cells. You've got these aha one patch wonders, and then people start comparing each other and, well, I didn't have that happen. Here's the thing, it goes to work where it's needed most. You've got to remember this, that it literally is working on whatever is most critical. So if you're like, Dr. Jen, I want my wrinkles to clear up, and you have some heart issue, I think you'd better like it to go to work on your heart issue than your wrinkly skin, right? So I've heard it say that, like, when you start seeing external things, that means your insides are doing better.
And pretty quickly decided that my sister-in-law needed to try this, and that I needed to try it too. And so my family and I started using the patch end of July, and my wife and I have 4 children. They're all this last semester they were all in college, One is now graduated, but both my boys play college football. So we started having different reasons for using the patch, for different kids. But for all of us, we had goals and we had ideas about what this patch could do for us. I will tell you personally, the results on the anti-inflammatory side were very quick for me. Inflammation in my joints. I'm 55 years old, fairly active lifestyle. The inflammation essentially resolved. So that was very impressive. And I started seeing results in my patients very quickly. I shared this with a lot of family and friends because I was so excited about it.
This elderly couple down the street from me, the lady's in her 70s and her husband's in his 80s. And he was recently diagnosed with 3 types of cancer, had colon cancer, prostate cancer, and skin cancer. And so they were giving him chemotherapy, and then he had a rash, and then they were putting him on prednisone, which wreaks havoc on the body when you're on it for long term. And then he was having heart troubles. They were looking at a pacemaker, and then he had this nerve pain syndrome called trigeminal neuralgia, which is often nicknamed the suicide disease because that's how painful it is. And the wind would trigger it for him, brushing his teeth would trigger it. And they got started right away because I asked if they were interested in something alternative. And literally within 9 days, that pain syndrome was gone. He had more energy. He was using walking poles. He could barely walk, like a little raise in the concrete when he was walking would kind of get him really angry, his wife would say. And now he's walking. We live on a golf course. He's walking all over the golf course hills, so much energy, so much faster. He's sleeping at night through the night, which he wasn't before. He was getting up 6 times in the night to go to the bathroom. He's now down to 1. He's just his quality of life, and therefore her quality of life, is also much better. And she's now sleeping through the night, which she wasn't before.
I'm most impressed with some of the things that we're seeing in the neurodegenerative diseases fairly quickly in some. One patient who's not actually my patient, but is a family member of one of my patients with Parkinson's, had his tremor clear up in less than a week. And his tremor was pretty severe. He wasn't able to feed himself or to write. That completely resolved within a week. And then a lot of, just pretty severe arthritis, degenerative joint issues, reversing pretty quickly, improving to the point where people are, and I'm talking about 70-year-old, 80-year-old individuals who were sedentary because they just couldn't move well, that were pretty quickly doing things again, going and getting out of the house, grocery shopping. One lady that I know whose husband is a missionary had gotten to where she really wasn't getting out of the house because of joint pain. And within just a couple of weeks, she was moving like she hadn't in years, and she went on a mission trip with her husband out of the country. So life-changing for so many people.
And so, again, I was so excited because these patches just fit seamlessly right into everything that I was learning about the body, relearning. I would say I was unlearning a lot and relearning really what health was, because realistically, the system that I was working in is a disease management system. And so when you're a physician, everyone loves to tell you their problems and ask for advice. And so I knew a lot of people who had a lot of problems and just started sharing, these patches, saying, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm involved with. I just got started. There's really no downside. And I know that these people were not getting much from the traditional system, or they weren't really moving the needle. And I started sharing and seeing miracles, literally miracles all around me.
I've had people say, well, then should I not go on the patch because I don't drink any water? Kind of, maybe not. Like, you're going to probably have some aggressive detox. If you're okay going through the aggressive detox, then by all means, my husband doesn't drink hardly any water. He's really bad. And it took about 4 months of him just being tired for his body to adjust to phototherapy. Now he's got a rhythm down, but I honestly don't think it works as well as it could. I believe it's keeping him alive. There are several doctors. We have 3 different doctors that he goes to. All of them had said they are scratching their heads wondering why he's not dead. And I kid you not, he should be dead right now. And I believe it's the patches that are keeping him alive because he's got all sorts of issues.
And I think what we're doing right now is just seeing the very beginning of what's going to happen. You know, when you look at what we have available through Western medicine and through alternative and complementary medicine, we're very limited in a lot of ways to especially modalities that can help the body to heal itself. And what we now have, it's a very simple therapeutic patch that you can easily obtain and wear. And like Dr. Jen said, we're on it for life. And my kids they're going to continue to see things that will, make them want to continue with it as well. But both the boys I mentioned earlier, of our 4 kids, the 2 boys play college sports. So they've seen substantial muscle growth and maintenance through the football season. Both of them play college football, and just, injuries that had hampered my younger son the last 3 years didn't bother him this season at all. Just healing quickly, recovering quickly after exercise. I have a nephew who's a quarterback, and he is a prolific passer and had no issues with his elbow and shoulder this year compared to the last 3 seasons. And the only difference was wearing the patch. More ways to activate stem cells that will continue to promote the healing and the anti-inflammatory benefits that we're already seeing. So,
as I said, I'm very proactive about my health, and I didn't really have much for symptoms, except that in 2020, I got sick, and I know that my brain function took a real nosedive, and I was having trouble with memory, with word retrieval, with focus, just even articulating things. And to the point where, honestly, I was embarrassed. I was really concerned because I didn't feel like it was coming back, even though the rest of my body felt okay. And I was doing a lot of other things, for example, trying keto, intermittent fasting, a lot of things that we hear about that helps with cognitive function as well. And it really was after 2 months on the patches that things just became very clear to me. I felt like the fog lifted. I was able to speak a lot faster, articulate my words, and it was a really big deal for me. And another thing was my sleep was very messed up. As one can imagine, 30 years in medicine where we're doing call and not sleeping every 3rd or 4th night. My sleep was to the point where I wasn't sleeping through the night at all. And I know it kind of coincided with, midlife, because I am 53, but I know that I was sleeping much deeper than I ever have before, because I would wake up, say at 2, 3 in the morning in a panic that my kids were not home, or one of them was not home, because I hadn't heard them come in the house, only to run out of my room, get to my phone. And, I'd either text my daughter or phone and say, where are you? And she's like, I'm in my room. and that's a really big deal for me not to hear that with my backgrounds. But I want to echo what I think it was Duggar had said, that I've never seen anything like this in the 30 years that I have been in the traditional medical system. I really have not. It is just a remarkable technology, and I'm super excited to see what comes next. And so, with light in mind and understanding how light was the real driver of health from our environment, but also that our body produces light, biophotons, ultraviolet as well as infrared. Like Dr. Jen said, I was a real advocate for red light therapy and infrared. And that is when I came across the patches. Actually, someone had mentioned them to me, and I dismissed them initially. And it was later on, my mom's health started to fail, and someone else that I knew and trusted reintroduced them to me. Tests like echocardiograms, people's heart functions improving when the blood gets pumped out of the heart, we call that ejection fraction. And people who had really low ones of 15% improving to 40, 50, 60%. I was just in shock, because that's not anything that I had seen in my career or heard of, unless you put an external device or an implantable device in the heart. And so, because my mom's problem was heart failure, and her doctor was looking at potentially working her up for heart surgery. And so, learning about this and realizing there was really absolutely no downside to it at all, it was a no-brainer for us to get started. And so we got her on the patches, and I wasn't just going to let her do the patches alone. So obviously I wanted to start because, again, I'm all about preventative measures. And if I don't have to access the system, I really don't ever want to. And so again, having been in the system and caring for patients for as long as I have, I know that healing takes time. So I was not expecting anything to happen quickly. But my mom, because of her heart failure and her trouble breathing, we would go for walks regularly, and we really would walk at a snail's pace. Like, it was so painfully slow for me. And within 2 weeks, she was walking significantly faster. She was able to actually talk to me and walking on an incline. And I was just absolutely amazed by this. 3 weeks after, she came to my house with some blood work because she was getting regular blood work looking at markers for her heart failure, but she also had thyroid issues, and she had some numbers that were off and asked me what was going on. And I said, you go to your own doctor. I said, I'm pretty sure he's going to lower your thyroid medication. And sure enough, he did. And that's happened a second time. And she just has so much more energy. And so she's so vibrant, to the point where when she visits her friends, one of her friends' husbands had said, what are you doing? Like, you look amazing and you have this energy and this glow. And she said, oh, well, my daughter started me on these patches. And he just said, get me some. He didn't ask anything whatsoever. He just said, get them for me. I need them. And this gentleman, within 2 months, actually was no longer wearing his reading glasses.
The person is going to do the work, and it's not hard, it's a sticker, but if they're going to do this, why not pair it with drinking enough water? And I get a lot of people saying, but I don't want to have to pee all day long. Well, let me help you understand something, that once you are consuming 4 to 5 ounces, if you're on the 150 or below side in pounds, you need about 4 ounces of water every half an hour. If you're on the 150 and above, about 5 ounces every half an hour. And what that's going to do is, you're, after about 2 or 3 days of getting on that rotation of, like, put an alarm on your phone, you're actually going to see your body regulate, and you can go for about 5 hours without peeing. Problem is, we just aren't trained right to consume enough water. And I don't mean copious amounts of water. I'm talking about being hydrated throughout smaller amounts of time in the day, as opposed to like all at once. Some people wake up in the morning and they drink 16 ounces of water. That's useless. But we've really done a number on our pharmaceuticals. Like, they're all synthetic. Some people are medically minded. I would say a lot of people are medically minded. If they're medically minded, where they're like, well, I got to check with my doctor about that, and I got to make sure I look at the studies, and I'm not sure if I want to use this, and hey, how many medications are I on? 5 or 6. Okay, you're clearly medically minded. If they're medically minded, they don't understand that the system is rigged against them. If they're health minded, and that's why I love a lot of doctors, practitioners, people that get in here and see how messed up the kind of system is. There's some definite beautiful things about the medical community. It's just there's so much money involved that it's so messed up that we then end up getting kind of backwards information.
I've been on this quest to really find what can we do to help people keep moving, throughout their lives, and not just starting on the right foot, but then continuing on, in their 70s and 80s and 90s, still being active. And so I was so excited when we found this and realized that it's very affordable without a prescription. So we've been seeing just amazing results within our own family and inner circle and friends, but also in patients as well. I've never seen anything like this in my 30 plus years practicing medicine. And it is the most exciting technology that we have now to promote wellness and healing in anyone for almost any reason.